Welcome everyone on the panel and those joining us from around the globe for the Global Student Chat. Today, we have again joined you for another tweet and talk on the topic Should smartphones be banned in schools? Well, before we begin, let me give you a short overview of the Global Student Chat. It is a student led chat that connects K 12 students worldwide to discuss topics and questions about character education, social justice, and citizenship. Global Student Chat creates opportunities for students to network with others, gain perspective, build relationships with new learning partners in a literacy rich environment, experience social media as a powerful platform for learning, and establish a positive digital footprint. Thank you so much for joining us today. Well, Samantha, why don't you go around the tech talk for today?
For sure, thank you. So if you're watching us on YouTube, you may sign in with a Google account and use the chat to comment or ask a question. If you have X, formerly Twitter, follow the hashtag Global Student Chat, and hashtag Media Lit Week to read the ideas, thoughts, and questions shared by others. We will use the question one or answer one format. You can also participate on our Instagram account by responding to the posts. Use hashtag Global Student Chat to add your thinking and get involved in the conversation. Feel free to share your first name, where in the world you're joining from today. If you ask questions, we'll bring them to the panel. Please remember that the audience for this chat is K-12, so your comments and questions should be appropriate for all ages.
Okay, let's move on to the norms. We will have 30 minutes to discuss 3 questions. Please be mindful that this chat is open to students in K-12. Active participation from all classes is how we learn. All comments made during this chat should be positive and productive. We welcome diverse opinions, which you may not agree with something. It doesn't matter. We still have to ask that when we're challenging an idea, you respectfully disagree with the idea, not the individual person. Being respectful online includes using language that is inclusive and culturally appropriate.
Well, before we begin with the questions, let's have a small round of introduction. So, hi, I'm Namya Joshi. I'm a grade 12 student studying at Satpal Middle School in India, and this is my third year at the Global Student Chat. So, really excited for today's student talk and discussing about, should smartphones be allowed in schools or not.
I don't mind going next. Sorry. My name is Rebecca. I am a grade 12 student located in Canada, Ontario. And I believe this is also my third year in the chat. And I am also excited for today's topic.
Hi, my name is Samantha Brown. I go to Cardinal Carter. I'm a grade 11 student. This is my first year at the Global Student Chat, and I look forward to the chat today.
Hi, my name is Kabir. I'm in grade 11, also at Cardinal Carter with Samantha. And I'm interested in the topic of smartphones in schools today because it affects a lot of us in the chat today.
Hello everyone, I'm Yuhan Ali. I'm a grade 9 student in UAE and I used to be part of Namia school earlier. I'm really excited about today's topic and I think I've done some great research that is a bit scientifically positioned, and I think I'll be able to contribute some great facts to our discussion today. Thank you.
I'll go next. My name is Darren. I'm the boomer of the group. So I'm a digital literacy and internet safety advocate. I've presented over 630,000 youth around the world. And I'm a big believer in let's enlighten and not frighten through facts, not fear. And I believe that teens, youth, and young adults such as yourself have a lot to offer us as older adults. We older adults just need to be willing to listen.
Hi, I'm Clara, and me and Celia are from SMS Middle School, and this is both our first year.
I'm Celia. I'm in 8th grade. I've done this twice.
Okay, I believe that is everybody. So I'm going to lead us into our first question. So our first question is, what are the benefits and drawbacks of allowing phones in school? Are there any subjects and activities that maybe benefit by the use of smartphones? So I'm just going to start us off. in my opinion, the benefits of having a phone in school, because that is all I'm used to at this point, is the constant and easy access to information. And what I mean by this is the internet access. I'm not a huge fan of French. I've never been good at it, but when I used to be in it in grade 9 and 10, I did love the fact that sorry, excuse the bell. I did love the fact that I always had my phone on me. So whenever we were doing like a group assignment and there's one word I couldn't figure out, we didn't have any dictionaries around us, there were certain websites we were allowed to use. And I love that my phone gave me that accessibility as opposed to always bringing a laptop around in case you don't have it. Additionally, I feel like phones are a good way of helping students stay organized. You can keep your times and schedules, appointments, notifications, and such regarding that. There's also the outside of classroom communication aspect, which I personally love because, nowadays we get a lot of group assignments that we have to go home and work on, or group homework that needs to be done, and you need ways to be in contact with your fellow pupils. And then there's also the accessibility aspect, which I feel is very important to be inclusive in an environment. If there's a way that you can communicate with someone and they also have a smartphone, there's always a way when you're using a phone. And then there's also the responsibility aspect and preparation for reality, because in the real world, we're not going to be in school anymore. We're not going to have teachers telling us when our things are due, chasing us down to get our assignments, which, sorry to any teachers that have had to do that. But you need to know how to be responsible with your phone and not let it distract you, which is going to lead into my drawbacks aspect. So phones are also a distraction because while they give you easy access to the internet, it's very easy to get distracted by other things such as social media, games, messaging services, and inappropriately timed music and sound effects that you might just want to play in the middle of class, and that's not good. There's also cheating and a decline in social etiquette because students might become too over-dependent on phones and, lose their confidence in their own ability to communicate with others and answer simple questions and such. And then, of course, there's a privacy breach, which here in Ontario, we have the policy you're not allowed to take photos at school without consent, and now there's a bit of a blurry line of if you're allowed to take photos at all of other people, but there's always that which could tie into cyberbullying. So I feel like phones are only beneficial when used responsibly and can be an asset or a liability. It depends on the type of student you are.
I think I would agree with that. It's how you use it. That's really well said, Rebecca. And I believe allowing phones in schools opens avenues for enhanced communication, access to information, and also various convenient learning tools as well. So when it comes to the benefits, I think students can stay connected with their families. They can access any educational resources when required, and even they can organize their academic lives more efficiently when they have access to different applications and tools on their phone in school. So, however, I think this freedom comes with challenges as well. Like you were talking about various disadvantages, I would agree with them because phones indeed can lead to distractions, cyberbullying, even health issues if they're not managed properly. And I think there's also more of a risk of intensifying inequality if not all students have access to smartphones, and this may further lead to insecurities due to peer pressure that we also need to get a phone for ourselves, even if it's not required. Overall, I think it's a delicate balance between harnessing the benefit of technology and mitigating its drawbacks. But when it comes to subjects and different activities that can be benefited from the use of smartphones, I think students can use their phones to look up to facts and access or explore different resources to enhance their understanding of any subject matter. And if you're working together in group projects, it can help us to speed the process so we won't have to think from scratch. We can get an idea online and then, talk together with our group partners and get the best idea ready from the, already readily available information online. And even various language apps can be used by students during the leisure time at school to enhance their knowledge about any particular language. And when it comes to a particular subject, I think maths and science particularly, students can use graphic calculators like Desmos if they don't have access to the physical scientific calculators as well. And even in geography, for instance, students can explore interactive maps, conduct virtual tours, analyze real-time data, and gain insights into the global issues and basically explore the world around them. So again, it's how you use it and what kind of student you are. So I totally agree with you, Rebecca.
There were some really good points in there. I just have something to add that it's also another benefit in schools is also there's usually like most classes have these online resources that we use, such as like Kahoot, so it can be really useful for that instead of, like Rebecca said, having to whip out your laptop all the time. But I think another drawback that wasn't said yet is that it's also limited people's communication in person. Yes, as said, it can help with communication, like family and friends, if there's an emergency or something, and texting people and calling people. But I think it's limited, especially teenagers around me, like their communication in person. I see, like, for example, when I'm walking around the hallways, 99% of the people are walking around like this, texting someone, unless they're with like their close friend bubble. So I feel like it limits people from making more friends.
No, I think everybody's done a really good job of highlighting the overall benefits and drawbacks, especially the uses in class. So, for example, Namia was saying Desmos, Sam was saying Kahoot. We were talking about virtual tours for geography and other classes. Those are some really big benefits, and there are drawbacks as well, such as distractions and walking in the hallway, staring at your phone, just like Samantha said, which is really not a good look, especially in a school. However, I think the biggest advantage of phones is by far communication. Easy communication between both students and parents, and students and teachers. Sometimes when I'm going from one class to another class and I get an email from my teacher, can't pull out my laptop in the middle of the class. It's nice and easy for me to get on my phone, email my teacher. Or if I'm on lunch and I need to email my teacher, no problem. If my mom has to call me about something, I have to get picked up at this time instead of 2 hours later, she can give me a text, give me a call. It's a lot more easy and fast forward than a laptop. And I definitely think in that sense, communication is hugely impacted in a positive way because of my smartphone.
I agree with how a cell phone might help us for specific subjects. For example, like if we take science, we could there are apps for virtual experiments, and you could also do interactive simulations. As Namia said earlier, in geography, you've got Google Earth, you've got Google Arts and Culture. So that basically gives you the ability to do location-based activities, virtual field trips, and even for languages, as Rebecca said earlier, like Duolingo and stuff. So your teachers can assign you stuff based on those apps. Um, and I think cell phones should be allowed in schools because lately there's been some new technology that's been introduced. Basically, it's like browsers, special browsers that monitor and restrict all activity to only what's required. And I think cell phones are important because this is something that I think um, oftentimes in class when we're discussing something, especially in science lecture, there's oftentimes that I'll challenge somebody's thought. So I think cell phones are important because they'll help you to check your facts and check everything that's available on the spot. So I think that is something that gives you satisfaction on the spot, and well, you could also, because when you're debating in class about some topic, you can also look up some pre-debated topics that are given on Google or whatever browser you're taking. And sometimes looking at what other people have to say about some other topic also opens your perspectives. So I think cell phones should be allowed in school, but I don't have a practical experience of it because it's not really the culture where I've come from. Thank you.
I agree with most of you guys. Sorry. One benefit of allowing phones in school is that in case of if something happens and a student needs something from their parents, they can call their parents or text their parents really quickly. But a setback is students often try to use their phones during class to check Snapchat, TikTok, and Instagram, and it just is disrespectful and disruptive.
Yeah, I like the points that all of you guys have made. And yeah, you can use phones to be productive. And if you have your phone on you, especially if you have a watch or something that connects to your phone, you can just easily look down, check the time, check your reminders. You can set reminders throughout the day to tell you what you need to do and stuff. But at the same time, that opens up a whole new can of worms. What if you enable notifications for entertaining things like TikTok or Snapchat, or all of those social medias. Because then, like, oh, you look down on your phone and it's time to like do my homework. But at the same time, you'll also see like 6 more notifications, like so and so has followed you, so and so has texted you, and then you get distracted by all the new notifications. And like, while there's loads of like productive apps and stuff you can get on your phone, at the same time, there's like 10 more entertainment or games for every single productive thing.
Yeah, and I think I'll chime in now as the last person. I think it's really important that you all know that the good academic peer reviewed research supports everything that you've all said. We now have 5 really good research papers from around the world showing that schools that integrate the use of technology and cell phones in a moderated, guided way offers advantages to young people and young adults as you get older. Because those schools that have a prohibition in place, the reality is when you guys get out of school, these things are a part of your life. So, what better way to teach students how to use them than in a school? The downside is for those students who use them inappropriately. So they now become a distraction, not just to the students, but also to the teachers that can affect learning. So I'm a big believer that schools should have what I call a moderated use policy. The free range use of technology in classrooms, I don't support. However, technology, when used for a purpose towards education and giving you guys an advantage in technology, is a part of the world. Like one of the things I say to adults is too many adults, they still see a difference between the online world and the offline world. They see it as 2 separate entities, whereas to your generation, it's just one world, or what I like to call the on-life world. And a part of that is these things. So what better way to teach it than in schools? However, what makes it difficult is for students who are misusing these devices in classrooms to the detriment of all.
I absolutely agree. I think cell phones shouldn't yet be used as a substitution, as a method of substitution, but I think they should be used as something, as an integration. Like I was reading up on this topic and I came across this thing called the SAMR model. It stands for substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. So it's mostly about integrating technology into your traditional classic teaching methods, because it's commonly said that if you're just reading some topic, you will get it about 5%. If you're reading it aloud, then you'll get it about 50%, like stuff like that. So I think introducing other ways of learning that will simultaneously work along with your classic ways of teaching, I think, because of the association that your brain makes with with the topic not just being something that you learn but also as something that's fun. I think, like Namia's policy, she introduces games into learning. So I think because your brain starts to associate learning with fun memories, that makes recollection much easier, and I think that will in the long run help students.
Okay, very well said. And I love both of your points. And Mr. Lore, I love everything you said about, the moderated use in classrooms. I do think that's a really good idea that should be implemented. So to move us into our second question, it is share a time when a phone helped you during the school day and share a time when it hindered you. So I'm going to start this one off again as well. So besides the points that we've all listed, which I can say that I've used on multiple occasions for that, one specific one that happens here is whenever the weather's really, really bad, our school Wi-Fi might go down. And let's say we still have an assessment or something that we need to go through. I do like the fact that a lot of our phones do have access to cellular data, and we can hotspot or share with our friends in hotspots that we can still access our documents and scripts, whatever we need on our laptop, despite the Wi-Fi being down. So that is one example of the many times my phone has helped me during a school day. But then a time when it's hindered me, to touch back to Celia's point about notifications, actually, of course, phones, they do have the temptations of social media. And while I can also access social media on my laptop that I'll be using for school, it doesn't come up with the notifications the way my phone does. So there's always that aspect of responsibility that you have to know when the right time and place is for situations like that. But other than that, I do believe that phones are beneficial.
Yeah, Rebecca, I agree with a lot of things you said, especially about the Wi-Fi at our school, because at times the Wi-Fi goes down and we're all stranded in class. Even the teachers want us to pull out our phones to help us out, to hotspot our laptops, or to actually use our phones. But for me, the biggest benefit is, like I said before, communication, because I almost consider myself like a little hitchhiker when it comes to pickups and drop-offs, because I'm always trying to hitch a ride with somebody or try to get my parents to pick me up, because they're not always able to because they work some long hours. So, if I have to walk home in the snow, it kind of sucks. So I just use my phone a lot in that sense. Whether I'm walking in the hallways, I get a text a couple people and ask them if they're able to take me home, or at lunch, I'm able to call up some friends and see, what I can do. But in terms of hindrance, I can say for sure that my phone has hindered me before, whether it's a notification or even a message from my mom or my dad. I still am tempted to check it in class, even if it's considered somewhat productive. So I can say that it has distracted me before in that sense.
So I personally can't think of a time my phone has helped me during school hours, but similar to Kabir, texting my parents saying, hey, where are you? What parking lot are you in? But I wouldn't really count that as school hours. I would say that's more so after school hours. I also think my phone has hindered me in many instances. And again, just going back to the distractions, I can think of times where I was in a lesson and a friend needed some help or something to talk through. And I was like, I'm sorry, I can't leave class. I'm in a lesson. So I had to text them throughout my lesson. And that's very distracting. I wasn't able to comprehend any of the information. That has happened multiple times. So I feel like that's also, it's an advantage and also a disadvantage for me.
That's really great to know that, it has helped you, hindered you at the same time, and you realize, how it has done that. Well, to be honest, a smartphone has neither helped me nor hindered me in school. That is because, like Johan said earlier, in my school, the policy strictly prohibits the use of use a smartphone on the campus. However, on certain occasions, such as if we have certain events or specific academic activities or competitions, students are allowed to bring laptops. But the thing is that we must get the permission beforehand from our class teachers or from the school heads. And we also need to hand over the laptops to the class teachers whenever they're not actively in use. So this just ensures that we are using our devices for education purposes and only for the purpose it is required, minimizing the distractions, and we're able to focus only on the engagement part during the school events. So yeah, I haven't experienced either of them.
As Namia just mentioned, we've not ever been allowed to get phones to our school. But I agree, because I also got it once to my school at an event, at an innovation fest. So it helped me at that time, because whenever there's some important event, you're bound to, in the nervousness, you're bound to leave something at home, forget something. So I think it helped me just in that matter, but I can't talk about the hindrances part, because I've never really gotten it to class. So
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I don't have a phone, but students in my class have been able to get information for a project from their parents by just calling them or texting them during class. But they also get distracted by other social media apps and stuff.
In our school, there's a lot more regulations on your phone, so you can't really pull it out during class. It's either in the hallway or you go to the bathroom and text someone, or at lunch it's free reign, but in class, if it's seen, unless you get specific permission from the teacher to have your phone out, if it's seen, it gets confiscated and sent to the office. If you're lucky, then you'll get it back. But yeah, there's a lot more regulations here, so I haven't really seen many I don't know the word for it. I haven't seen many kids use it as a hindrance unless it's at lunch, because we aren't really allowed to have them.
If there's one thing I've heard from the hundreds of thousands of teens that I've spoken to, as well as educators, the one thing that becomes a hindrance is when parents text kids during school hours with non-urgent things like, what would you like for dinner tonight, right? Like, I hear that consistently from the teens and the teachers saying to parents, would you just stop texting your kids during school hours with things that are not urgent, because it's distracting. And even the teens say the same thing to us as well.
I feel like I've definitely had a few texts from my parents asking that exact question. So I know exactly what you mean. And to move us into our third question, it is, what role do parents and teachers play in teaching children responsible use with their phones? So it's perfect, kind of just introduce us into our next question. So to start us off, I feel like our adults and superiors can only do so much when it comes to our usage with our phones, because I feel like we're always with our phones and our parents are not exactly always with us. For example, in school or when we get older and we move into university and post-secondary and such. So I feel like it's important that they teach us the positives and the negative sides of it, and that they themselves are also, in a sense, technologically hip, as it is a new everyday necessity and our world is becoming so technological. Like here we have Apple Pay, debit pay, tap pay. Now there's even things that you can only pay for if you have your debit card on your phone. So it's important that we're all educated on the matter, but then it really does just come down to who you are as a person and how you're responsible, in my opinion.
I kind of like agree and just disagree a little bit with Rebecca, because the thing with me is I definitely think that for iPhone like influence and smartphone influence is big in friend groups and amongst yourself as well, like she was saying. But ultimately, like our parents do have the biggest responsibility to control phone usage, both at home and outside of the home environment. And I think this is because it does not just include controlling the amount of time a child spends at home, on their phone, because that's inevitable. You can control as much time as you want being the parent, but it also includes the way that us as children like perceive our phones. We have to perceive them in an educational way too, and less of an entertainment way. If you use your phones at home only in a gaming way and to watch videos, you're going to perceive it everywhere whenever you use it as a fun method of escaping reality. But if your parents integrate it into your life at home as well and teach you about the possibilities of using your phone to help you with work and projects, and if you're constantly asking your parents for help with a project and they give you a method of a educational app online that can help you instead, that'll make you think of your phone in a different light, which will maybe make you control how much you use your phone for entertainment rather than education.
I also agree. I think parents do play a big role in phone usage. Personally, I still have a curfew, so I bring down my phone every night at 10:45 p.m. Although it can be annoying for my friends to be like, "Oh, like why didn't you respond at 11 p.m.?" And I'll be like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't have my phone." But although it's annoying, it has also helped me in the morning because I'm never on my phone first thing in the morning. It's kind of gotten me in the habit. Even when I do have it on weekends, I never go on my phone anymore. And I've seen some research about how that can improve your mental health by just taking a few minutes every morning to not go on your phone first thing in the morning. So that has really helped me. For teachers, I do think they play a role in teaching children responsible phone use, but not as much as parents. Because, for example, I've only heard teachers say to me, that phones are bad, but they never really said why. That was more so taught by my parents. But teachers do help when, for example, they're teaching a lesson that's very engaging. I feel like that limits people's and students' phone use.
And just to add to Samantha's example about not going on her phone in the morning, so that's something that I never really had, was a curfew for my phone. Although I am pretty reasonable with how much I use my phone, I always look at my phone in the morning. First thing I wake up, I try to give my eyes maybe 10 seconds of rest before I open them and look at my phone right away. And that's something that she's learned not to do from her curfew, which leads down to her parents inevitably. So that just shows the influence of a small little thing that a parent has integrated in the home life that changes the way that we perceive our phones.
True, I agree with three of your thoughts. And just to add to that, I think parents and teachers have a very vital role in guiding children towards responsible phone use. And I think there can be three main things that parents can start. I think first of that should be fostering open conversation, understanding the child's digital world, like social media applications, what is, the usage of the child while they're using their phone, and setting clear boundaries on the screen time. Well, you were talking about, like after 10:45 you cannot use your phone. I think even my mom, she's told me not to check it after 9:30. Like even when it's required, though, it's required, only then you can just check it. But usually I don't use it after 9:30, especially on the weekends. There's like minimal usage and no usage at all when we are on a vacation, because that helps you to take a digital detox and you don't have that feeling that I cannot live without my phone. And I think monitoring content and being positive role models are equally crucial for the parents. And I think when it comes to educators, they can establish a clear classroom policy. They can engage with students about, what are the reasons behind their rules, and they can even provide them alternative activities to minimize their screen time. So students are like allowed to bring phones to school. Teachers can engage them in certain activities that whenever they're bored, they're not always going to their phone and scrolling on TikTok or Instagram. And besides that, I think it's important that we empower the children to navigate the digital landscapes safely and develop healthy habits while promoting academic success and their overall well-being.
Yeah, I think that parents give you like the most influence. Like in our house, you're not allowed to bring your. We just have certain rules, like you can't bring your phone upstairs because our parents can't like monitor, see what we're doing, to make sure that we're not doing something we're not supposed to, and we're not allowed to download certain apps, so that we only look at our phones if we need to.
So excuse me. My mom, I got my phone in 6th grade. And my mom put a whole bunch of restrictions on it. Like she put like downtime, so I couldn't use any apps except for like messaging my parents and like Google Maps and stuff after 8 p.m. And I also wasn't allowed to get any social medias besides like YouTube, if that really counts, until like last year, if that. And like I thought my mom was so uncool back in like 4th grade when all my friends were starting to get TikTok. And I'm like, Mom, you're so uncool. But looking back on it, like I'm honestly glad she didn't let me get any of the things that I really wanted on my phone, because like at that time, had I been exposed to like TikTok or like any of that like brain rot that a bunch of kids were using at that time, I feel like I would not be nearly the level I am. Like, that sounds really boasty. That's not the way I intend it. But, like, yeah, I feel like I would not be at the level I am had my mom, like, let me do all that uncool stuff.
I think parents play the largest role in controlling cell phone usage. Um, well, for starters, they can set limits and boundaries. I mean, they should establish clearly what they want their kids to do with their cell phones, and they should monitor their usage. They should, and I think they should, like my parents, they weekly basically it's like a counseling session. They tell me about the potential risks. They teach me well how to navigate these risks. And I do have some controls on my phone as well. But as you said, I used to think of it as uncool earlier. But now, looking back at everything that I've achieved, again, I don't want to sound boastful either, but I think in the long run, it's really helped me. And when it comes to teachers, I think teachers should be so fun and interesting themselves that someone should not feel the need to be utilizing their cell phone for something other than education. I think teachers should integrate some fun way of education through the cell phone, so that it's so fun that you can't even think of switching over to some other tab. Like you could add some game based learning, like some quizzes, some grading system, so that feeling of getting rewarded, I think, is key to um, preventing bad usage of cell phones in schools.
Sarah, you're muted.
boomers, you gotta love us. The good research shows us that parents are the best role models and teachers. They truly are. And why is this important? Because if a parent says don't text and drive, but yet they're texting and driving, guess what the kids are going to do? If your kid is trying to have a conversation with you and the parent's on their phone, guess what the kids are going to do when the parent is trying to have a conversation with the kid when they're on the phone, right? So again, they're the best role models. So parents need to walk the walk and talk the talk, as I say. And a part of that is educating themselves. And to do that, get involved with your kids. You know, the kids are the best role models and teachers of stuff. And parents shouldn't be afraid not to admit that they don't know everything. Like, teens have a lot to offer us as adults when it comes to these devices. Yeah, we parents, we bring life experience to the table that a lot of teens and young adults may not have, but teens bring a lot of experience to the table around these devices that many adults don't have. When it comes to educators, I think educators need to have clear policy in place in the school and that they all follow it, right? Because if they don't, then it's going to be, well, mommy lets me do this, but daddy doesn't. And the teens will play teachers off against one another, right? So we need to have this clear policy. And I'm a big believer in allowing a moderated use policy within schools, right? So I don't think having a prohibition is the way to go. I don't think free range is the way to go. The way to go is a moderated policy that is enforceable by educators.
Indeed. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. I think the Gen Z is very aware, and if they're educated and they have the right role models, then they'll know how to use technology for good. And when it's their smartphones, I think they'll be magical devices for them to use it for the best and to change the world, of course. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Special thanks to our guest expert today, Mr. Darren Lohr. And thanks to our guest student panelists, Clara and Celia, joining from Alaska, and Yuhan from India. And also thanks to our student team, Namya, Samantha, Rebecca, and Kabir. Well, before we end, I would love to talk about the Social Media Ambassador Program. So if you are a digital leader and want to become one, Global Student Chat is always seeking student social media ambassadors. This information can be found on globaledsschat.com. And we're always looking for students who excel or looking forward to grow their digital leadership skills. Please keep the conversation going by answering our slow chat for the rest of the month. Be sure to use the hashtag Global Student Chat hashtag so our team can interact with you. Please follow us and connect with us on social media. On the website, it is globaledsschat.com, X, formerly Twitter, @Global Student Chat, Instagram, @Global Student Chat. All of our live chats are now available and have always been available on our YouTube channel. Thanks again for joining us, and we hope to see you in the next month Tweet and Talk, that is on April 9th, 2024.